All right, welcome everyone to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, I'm so happy to be here sharing with all of you. And Spirit came through with some insights, and this is almost like a mid-month energy update, to be honest, because they wanted to talk specifically about the collective turbulence. And what was really interesting is when they brought this information through, they were really specific to say, notice how much of the energy that you're feeling is actually the collective turbulence rather than the turbulence within you. Now, here's the thing that you really need to try and differentiate between, and sometimes this can get muddied, and even for myself too, is we take in the sensations of the turbulence outside of us and it creates a turbulence within us, right? But the key is, and what they're asking us to do is, in order to notice that it's collective versus ourselves, we have to go into the sensation of turbulence and try and find the root. And sometimes we may think, oh, I know what the root is. It is, I don't know, my car is having troubles, right? But it's like, once you acknowledge that root, is it actually that? Does the sensation go away? If the sensation doesn't go away, it's most likely a collective trigger that is manifesting itself through whatever's going on in your life. And the reason why it's really beneficial to acknowledge what's happening and be able to see those kinds of things or understand it or recognize it is because it gives you more power in how you then are creating your experience in your reality. So let's dive into some of the things that Spirit brought up here. So they said right now to really kind of wrap your mind around what the energy is like this month, but as well moving forward still, like through the end of 2024. I want to say, first of all, there is a ton of positivity. There really is. And I know when we look out in the world right now, we might not think that or see that, but there really is, because of the collective consciousness in terms of how it is increasing and more people are awakening in their own unique ways to higher consciousness. And higher consciousness is really however they see it or experience it, whether it is through religion and finding peace and healing within them, whether it is through creating new innovations, whether it's through spirituality, whether it's reconnecting with nature, maybe it's ancient rituals and ceremonies that, like, there's so many ways. There's not just one way. It's not just the New Age way. There are so many ways to connect into higher consciousness. And often really that gateway to higher consciousness is through the heart space, through love, through forgiving yourself, through all of that. And we've talked about it, and I'll continue to talk about that. But for today, all of that leads us to this awakening within. And in order to stay within that awakening within, we have to be able to separate from the collective turbulence. So Spirit said to picture it this way. Picture yourself on a boat, and you can imagine your boat being any kind you want. Maybe for you it's a yacht, maybe it's a little rowboat, kayak, like whatever it is. And it can change when you check in every once in a while with this, but picture yourself on a boat. And right now that boat is on stormy seas. However, Spirit is like, you could either look at the stormy seas and be very afraid for what is outside of you, or you could look at the steadiness of your boat, how well you know your boat, the way in which you know how to maneuver these stormy seas when you're centered in your boat. And your boat really is a representation of your heart space, of that inner you, that soul-based you. And when you realize that you are always tethered to your boat. So even if the stormy seas are such that they knock you out of your boat, you're not going to drown because you are tethered to your boat, to your heart space. You have created this tether, this bond, this safety rope that will allow you to always find your way back. So when you think of it that way, no matter what happens in the stormy seas around you, you are safe. You are safe because you know how to weather the storm. You have knowledge, you've gained wisdom, you've learned your skills, but you also have this safety tether because you are doing so through the energy of love. And the more we continue to do that and awaken or reawaken that connection of love, of self, the greater the bond is, the greater the tether is. So Spirit said, just notice that. Remember that you are safe here in your boat. So anytime that you're looking at the world around you or things are happening in your life, one of the visualizations was exactly that, is take a moment and close your eyes. Take a few breaths to shift your energy. And then visualize yourself on your boat and notice, what does your boat look like? And if at first your boat feels like it's a flimsy raft or a single piece of wood, right? Take a moment to calm your energy and then create the boat that would create the feeling of safety for you. And then you'll realize that you are the creator of your reality and you can create a sense of safety amongst what's happening. Now, I want to say I do acknowledge that that is a blanket statement, and there are some situations like war, natural disasters, in which it's hard to find that metaphorical safety boat. I completely hold space for that when you're right in the thick of it. However, wherever you're able to come back to you, come back to a safe moment, you can bring yourself back into that to try and help ground your energy within whatever situation you're in so that you can try and see your way through it clearly. Okay? So here's an interesting thing too. Spirit said the beautiful thing about the safety of the heart space, this boat, right, is that when you're actually in your heart space, the darkness cannot hurt you. And I thought this was really neat because it is so true. And they brought me back to this experience when I was younger. I used to be afraid of the dark because I was afraid that in the dark, these spirits or beings or whatever I could feel but not see would just show themselves. And I found that when it got dark, everything got quiet and my sensitivities to spirit were much higher. I didn't understand it at the time. I just felt a lot when the lights were off and it was terrifying. But what I had happened to me was, I remember in, I think it was like my first year of university or my first year of college, I had met a friend there, and my friend encouraged me because we were talking about this, and I hadn't fully embraced my mediumship yet at that point. I hadn't I couldn't stand with the courage and strength behind it. I just thought I had weird things happen to me. But my friend said, challenge yourself to go and sit in the dark and see what actually happens. And I was like, okay. And they're like, when you sit in the dark, sit with your heart open. I was like, what? At the time, I didn't get it at all. But they encouraged me to do that. And I remember I went and all the lights were off. Everybody was asleep. And I went and sat on the stairs. It was totally dark. I was so freaked out at first. But then I managed to find my way into my heart space. Like, I thought about things that I love. I thought about things that I enjoy, that bring me happiness, like that fill my heart. And I could start to feel my heart energy radiate. And as I went from straining with my eyes to try and see in the dark to see what's around me, terrified, I started to sink into the energy of my heart. And then I found that I was able to close my eyes. And then I found that I actually felt so safe with my eyes closed. And the more that I sat there and the more that I sat in my heart energy, what I realized retrospectively was how much I was actually creating this force field of energy around me of love, which is the highest frequency. And therefore, anything that was of a pesky nature would not be drawn near. And so that's why the heart is the most safest place you can be, and anchor your energy there. Now, the heart, being in the heart space doesn't mean that you don't have boundaries, and it doesn't mean that you don't say no, and it doesn't mean you let people walk all over you because you're just like, yes, 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 and whatever. The heart space is all about firm boundaries, standing up for who you are with loving compassion, but having enough self-love to set a boundary for yourself. That's how we start to create this sense of safety for ourselves. And so the same thing goes for spirit. Pesky spirits, get into the heart space. Anytime that I have spirits around me that I don't want to have around me, I will just fill my whole being up with this love energy, and that emits a frequency that they don't like, right? And so they kind of disappear. So again, that's why Spirit is saying the darkness can't hurt you in your heart space when you are in that loving heart space. Now, when there's physical threats to your body, well, that's a different story, right? You have to do something different. But I'm talking about the energetic collective turbulence of these metaphorical stormy seas. If you stay in your heart space and anchor there, the darkness cannot hurt you. Your heart space will diffuse any disharmony. And the beautiful thing about it too is it'll diffuse disharmony in your body as well. And that can help you really start to shift your own body's wellness and really allow you to embrace the energy that you are in now since the eclipse season happened, right? Like, again, I have to keep repeating this because it's so important. Your body frequency is not the same as it was before the eclipse season. Your body frequency is not the same as it was before 2024 either. Spirit had said that 2024 was a year that our body energies would come online, and they have, and they continue to. The eclipses have propelled us forward. For some, they had a very kind of quiet summer, and now the energies are moving forward. Again, it's moving forward because there's newness, there's a new frequency to you. And so if you can anchor that new frequency in a love space in your heart, you are beyond powerful, beyond powerful. Now, I was kind of mixing up my words there because I felt my guides coming through really close. And so I'm just going to close my eyes here and see if they're able to come through. I'm not sure if it's going to be a channel or not, but they're really pushing in and wanting to share something. So just hold on one moment here. Okay, so this is the three guides of the light coming through right now. And they're saying, sometimes the scariest transformation is actually the inner transformation versus transformations that happen outside of you. They're saying the transformations that you're noticing in the world around you, some of the destruction and such, is often less scary than going into the heart space. So many people have a fear of going deep into their heart space. But they're saying this is where we really ask you to free fall into the heart space, because with this collective energy that's been rising and rising and rising, it's actually it's full of light, softness, understanding, non-judgment. It's the opposite of what we see in the world around us in many different ways. Again, I'm talking about sort of like the collective turbulence energy is harsh, is judging, is scolding, is triggering, that kind of stuff. They're saying your entry into your heart space is actually the opposite. So they're saying, please be willing to free fall into that, because it'll really revolutionize how you move through the world right now. And the key, they're saying too, is when you change the way you move through the world right now, your frequencies, as we know, ripple outward and help change it for others. Just like others have sort of instigated a shift within you, and then you instigate a shift within others simply by being you. So they're saying, please free fall into your heart space right now. And this free fall into your heart space is also going to open up the opportunity for deeper connections, loving connections with other people, with your spirit guides, with your higher self. Like, it is going to change so much. And they're saying, please recognize it's not as scary as what we would think. Okay, there's something more here still too. One sec. They're saying too that energetically speaking, Spirit has been waiting for this divine timing right now, especially in this month. They've been waiting for this divine timing to beckon us all into the heart space with an easy free fall. So there's a very distinct timing right now for this to happen. So the invitation that they're showing me right now is, where in your life are you being kind of beckoned to dive into your heart? Beckoned to free fall into the arms of love, in whichever way that looks like for you. Some of you may have this experience in partnership with somebody. There might be a new relationship or a deepening of your relationship, and it's asking you to free fall into the arms of love. Others of you might be noticing certain areas in your life where you are being beckoned to free fall into your own heart space, your own arms of love. Maybe it's through therapy. Maybe it's through new self-love practices, or how you're considering your health and wellness. Maybe you're free falling into that heart space through community initiatives. Like, there's so many ways that this shows itself, but they're saying this is really how we navigate, first of all, this collective turbulence. We stay in our boat, But then also we change the whole configuration of this collective energy into less turbulence. And they're saying too, they're like, if only you all truly recognized how powerful you are. And they're showing it to me like many of us don't fully realize that we are sitting on a treasure chest full of gold. We think we're sitting on a seat, and we think maybe there's some snacks in it, but we don't realize it is full of gold, and the gold represents our unlimited ability for creation. And so they're like, this is why it's such divine timing right now, because you are all stepping into this recognition to various degrees, and it's about really honoring it and holding it and embracing it. And then, being willing to free fall is basically being willing to get off that treasure chest, open it up and look inside. And instead of fearing finding spiders and who knows what, you're going to find gold. And the gold is that essential golden light frequency that is on this planet, that is within you, and that is wishing to come out and show itself to the world through you. And they're also saying, lastly, they're like, each and every one of you is a change maker. And so often they're showing me how we don't give ourselves credit for who we are in the world. We often think, well, who am I to do this? Or who am I to say that? Or, this person says this and I should look to them. And we all inspire each other, but none is better than the other. Nobody needs a pedestal above others. We each are equal to speak at that pedestal. We each are equal to sit on the grass in communion with everybody. And so they're saying, like, this is what we're shifting into this self-realization. And that self-realization happens in the heart space, in that boat. So I think that's so neat how they're bringing that through. So that's the invitation right now as we move through this energy right now and into the rest of 2024, is just anchor in your boat. You are so safe in that boat, no matter what happens. No matter what wave comes and knocks you out, you are tethered. You've got a life jacket on. That tether will not break. It'll pull you right back into the boat. And that is your place of power. So I will leave that with all of you. What a beautiful message today. I hope that helps inspire you to just really stand in who you are and be who you are. And, not feel ashamed for anything in your life, but just embracing all of the lessons and the teachings and the learning and all of the ways in which you had to learn it, and stand tall in who you are today moving forward, because you make a difference. You do. So I'll leave that with you. Thank you so much, as always, for joining me. I appreciate you all so much, and I will see you all next week.